Greetings, everyone. This is Rock'n'Roll Spot coming at you with the weekly comic book roundup, and we're going to get started this time on this week's Empyre tie-ins as well as this week's DC books. Kicking things off with Empyre Avengers #2. We left off in issue 1. So, Empyre Avengers, we're getting three stories for the price of one. The Avengers and the Agents of Wakanda are working to repel the Qatari just as everyone else. There are three specific points that are being targeted. First off is Central Park, where something seems to be growing underneath the park, as discovered by Vision, as well as Luke Cage and Dr. Nemesis. In the Savage Land, a team of Avengers, including Scarlet Witch, Brother Voodoo, Kazar, and Black Knight, have discovered that the Qatari have definitely found a good spot to stage a defense from there. And in Mexico, Mockingbird, Wonder Man, and Quicksilver were initially trying to help the Kree Skrulls, but might have made, basically when the Kree and Skrulls kind of just said, yeah, we're not really concerned about human casualties here. Well, they did take some offense to that. And so, the issue begins with Okoye going over the state of events with T'Challa, explaining that the Zarazi are engaging Qatari archers south of Khartoum. The Warriors 3 are defending Little Asgard. Captain America and America's armed forces are holding the line in Washington, D.C. There are also reports of attacks in Caracas, Lisbon, Manila, and Yokohama as well. Okoye asked where the helicarrier should go to assist, but Black Panther explains that none of them actually. They have to trust that their allies can hold their own for now. And if any of them ask for aid, they'll allocate Agents of Wakanda or Avengers as needed. Then he remarks that Wakanda has not seen any conflict as of yet, which he believes is not by accident. Clearly, this is happening before the events of Empyre #3. And so, T'Challa rightly figures that the other clashes are really just precursors to the true battle to come. In Central Park, Vision comes up from the undergrowth of Central Park. Apparently, growing beneath the park was the villain Plant Man, Samuel Smithers. And Dr. Nemesis insists, hey, that he's being used, but Plant Man says, no, not really. My goals and the Qatari goals are perfectly aligned. And so Nemesis and Cage do what they can to subdue him, but turns out he can now. The Qatari have unlocked the potential within him, and he can make soldiers at will. In Mexico, Wonder Man, Quicksilver, and Mockingbird are not having the best time dealing with the Kree-Skrull alliance. In fact, the Kree and the Skrulls are not having the best time dealing with the Kree-Skrull alliance, as both assume that, as it seems that there are Skrulls who assume that, this is temporary at best. And once the Qatari's over, the Skrull Empire will reassert dominance across the galaxy. So a fight breaks out between the two forces. In the Savage Land, Black Knight comes to next to Khazar and Shanna's son. They're trying to figure out what's going on. The Kotati have also taken control of Man-Thing, and also Shanna. We get an explanation of how this happened. Apparently, back in Savage Wolverine number 4, Shanna's life force was bonded to the Savage Land, so nature's power flows through her. As the Kotati's wield the same power, she is linked to them. So her will is theirs. And they even say that, hey, maybe someday Plant Shanna could be the next Celestial Madonna. And she's trying to get Khazar to join them, and well, yeah. Seems both Dr. Voodoo and Scarlet Witch have been subdued. Of course, the Warrior's been imprisoned. But Shanna's insistent on trying to turn Khazar. Of course, just because Wanda and Jericho are unconscious doesn't mean they're useless. So, Dr. Voodoo tries to get in to free Matthew and Black Knight, while Scarlet Witch tries to get into Shanna's mind. She's to a fight in her mind, and well. Meanwhile, while all that's going on, Dr. Voodoo possesses Man-Thing, frees Black Knight, as well as Khazar and Shanna's son, and Khazar's tiger Zabu. Scarlet Witch brings Khazar into Shanna's headspace, basically thinking maybe he can help convince her from within to, that she's been tricked. Back on the physical plane, the Black Knight and Matthew Plunder, Khazar and Shanna's son, are fighting off the Kotati. Matthew explains that this is 100% crazy, while Black Knight kind of says, well, by Avengers standards, it's, somewhere between 18 to 20%, really. The Dr. Voodoo possessed Man-Thing attacks the Kotati as well. One thing that gets brought up is the fact that Khazar has kept on just leaving to go on adventures. And so he promises to her, though, that that they can get through. He tells her that her power scared him, and it still does, and she's scared too. But he tells her that they can get through it together, and he's not leaving again. However, the leader of the Kotati regiment down there isn't too keen on this turn of events, and so what looks like, well, it might actually be the Ebon Blade. Yeah, it is. Basically stabs Khazar through the chest with the Ebon Blade. And that is where the issue ends. Which brings us to Empyre Captain America #2. Where we left off, Captain America tried to get international aid from the Pentagon and help to, repel Kotati forces. Basically recruited a strike team of allies, one of whom ended up with a mouthful of Kotati pollen. Once Cap was told that no, we're defending our borders, and that's it. Well, Cap said, nah, not gonna do it. got his, and him and his new allies, started heading south to take care of everything. Before they left, Bennett, the member that ended up with mouthful of pollen, however, came upon the general that Cap had talked to, and promptly infected him with said pollen. The issue begins in San Antonio. They're trying to basically get Kotati forces into a crossfire when Kree Skrull air support shows up, and, well, like in Avengers, they're being indiscriminate about their targets. As long as their targets aren't Kree or Skrull, anything that isn't Kree or Skrull and is in the line of fire, fair game. Cap stops the attack and basically does give the Kree and Skrull troops a bit of a talking to. And explain that one of Koi's priests, one named Shikanth, is amassing a great army to the south, and he's got power unlike the other servants of Koi. He's raised a mighty creature of tree and stone called the Man of Earth. Seems to be heading towards Mexico City. Cap informs the general, who is on his way to NATO. Not looking too great. But, Cap's actually quite glad to hear that the general's going to talk to NATO command. So, Meanwhile, Bennett is looking, one, a little sickly, and also staring daggers at the Kree and Skrull. That night, Cap gets to tell the squad an old war story. A town in France called, and I'm probably going to butcher this, but Benoville. It was a little village in France in World War II. He was there with an airborne demolitions team. He got to know the guys pretty well. They had intel that the Nazis would be crossing a bridge there with supplies, munitions, tanks, so on. They were supposed to wait till they were on the bridge, blow it up, take what prisoners they could, but it was a trap. There was no supplier caravan, just a mess of Nazi machine guns waiting for them. They had some kind of radioactive tar that was incapacitating Cap, and so the demo team went after the Nazis, and about half of them died in the charge. And so they go to find Bennett, but it turns out Bennett has infected some of their soldiers and is passing on trying to do the same to the Kree and Skrulls. And so they're promptly taken out, and Cap puts two and two together, realizing that the general wasn't looking too great either. So they head to Brussels, to NATO headquarters, where the general is speaking to the NATO command. No one is really expecting this to go well. Oh, the U.S., who denied our request for military aid, are now asking for our military aid. However, Shikanth speaks through the general and takes control of the general as well as his aides, and they try to infect all of the NATO command. But around the time that Cap and his crew show up, and explaining, hey, this is what's going on, and we all fight today or we all die tomorrow. The Kree and the Skrull president are like, you know what? Cap's kind of Cap is more impressive than most humans. He could probably inspire others to fight. However, the two are basically comparing notes about, basically, this world's along the lines of, Earth's expendable. deciding that they're not going to bomb the Kotati just yet. They'll wait. They'll give the humans a chance to take them on the ground. And when the humans fail, they'll rain fire on the city that's being approached by Shikanth until the Kotati are nothing more than a memory. And that is where the issue ends. Which then brings us to Empyre, X-Men number 4. 3. 3 of 4, derp. Where we left off, members of both Horde Culture and the X-Men Strike Team on Genosha had been split up by a giant seed pod. And there was also a slight problem with there being, Genoshan zombies. A quick call was made to Genosha requesting all psychics to go to Genosha. Or a quick call was made to Krakoa asking that all psychics make it to come to Genosha to join the fight. And so the zombies are gnawing on the zombie mutants are gnawing on the Kotati and infecting them. So now all the horde of zombies are heading towards the seed pod. The zombie Kotati are like, "Hey, we can get you in. See, we know how to do this." The assembled psychics are just wondering what the hell's going on, and they all get a quick explanation. Exodus, Selene, and Sinister, as well as all the others, make basically wooden armor, and in some cases also weapons. Quentin Quire has made a pair of psychic M4s, and the battle is met. Magic then brings Opal to Beast and Krakoa so the two of them can work together on something to stop the Kotati. Inside the seed pod, Explodey Boy has come back and basically makes an offer. Makes a deal with the mutants. And so he said, the deal being that if Explodey Boy can get the Kotati off the case of the mutants inside the seed pod, well, Explodey Boy gets to keep all the bits of prime cuts they left all over the ground. After all, he's got no beef with mutants. He used to be one, sort of. Or still am. And he still is, kind of. So, Mandra's like, okay, sure. But Explodey Boy explains that they'll probably want to find some cover so that he can, explode. In Krakoa, Opal and Beast manage to make something that works. And they promptly fill a bunch of super soakers with it. Yes, super soakers. Black Tom tries to get in touch with Magic, but it's not entirely going too well. Seems she's gone dark, so Nightcrawler volunteers to bring the new weapon to the battlefield. One of the cuckoos briefly gets separated from the others and is swarmed by zombies, but Magic's able to save her. And the two try to find where where everything's coming from. And so Nightcrawler teleports in and gets to work, and narrowly avoids getting bitten by a mutant zombie. Fires the super soaker to the seed pod, and it seems to do the trick. But inside the seed pod, the zombies smell fresh meat. And so Ileana and the cuckoo with her make a handful of teleportation jumps. The more jumps they make, the closer they get to something that feels off on the island, according to Magic. The 8th time they arrive, and they find the staff that Wanda Maximoff made and stuck in the ground in an attempt to resurrect the mutants of Krakoa or of Genosha. Whichever of the cuckoos is with Magic, they never specify which one. The staff is not. She's not reacting well to the staff. While Magic seems drawn to it, pulls it out of the ground, and becomes. Can feel the power flowing through her. The X-Men are informed that they have a complication. Magic has gone a bit more Demon Lord, Dark Childish. Inside the seed pod, Explodey Boy's gnawing on the zombies are gnawing on the bits and pieces of the dead Madroxes, which of course freaks out Jamie more than a little. The pheromone spray is worn off on Angel, and he realizes that he totally got drugged. Then Magic shows up, claiming that she's begun a great work. And she says exactly what it is the staff is made of. The World Tree Root, which bridges the realms of life and death. The Tri-Crown of the Chaos Godhead, which perverts the law of nature. The Eye of Alak Ra, the Void Spider, who from blood weaves life. What she has is power over death. And so she declares herself the zombie queen of New Genosha. As Madrox and company slog through the seed pod, they see that the seed brain is being gnawed on by not just the Krakoan zombies, but also the zombified Kotati. The broadleaf, as it's called, is infected. And then the broadleaf hatches into that. Yay, alien plant zombies. Right? And that is where the issue ends. Yes. Just what we need. Alien plant zombies. Next up, we've got Empyre, number 5. Got another one of the propaganda poster variants. Where we left off at Empyre number 4, Hulkling ordered ordered the Pyre to be armed. The Pyre being a super weapon which will destroy the sun, and then also banished Human Torch and Captain Marvel from the flagship. They ended up making their way to. They ended up in Hulkling and Wiccan's apartment, where Wiccan informed them that, before he left for space, Wiccan and Hulkling got married. So, good for them. Awesome news that they got married. Let's see. Oh yes, turns out that way back in issue 1, when the Avengers got knocked out on the blue area of the moon, they killed Hulk and infected her with the with Kotati pollen stuff, and now she's going out, and she's been kind of a double agent the entire time. Also, the battle in Wakanda is not going too well. So, we begin with Wiccan explaining to Human Torch and Captain Marvel what led to them getting married. And it was an hour before he had to go to space, and they used half of it. It says they looked at each other, and he said, when all this when all this is over, they'll get married. And so, he said, why wait? He said, and explained, he just looked at Wiccan with those eyes, and you've seen his eyes, right? Captain Marvel says, maybe not the way you have, though Human Torch totally gets it. Explaining, you never noticed the eyes. So, the two of them portal to Vegas. 5 minutes to get the paperwork ready, and called a bunch of their friends, explaining that half their friends are super species or teleporters. They'll make it, and yes, they did. And so, just before becoming King of Space, Hulkling became Wiccan's husband. He explains that he's symbolically bonded to Hulkling now, and magic is metaphor, so symbol and reality are the same thing. As long as Hulkling's alive, Wiccan can feel him, and he can feel him right now, and he can find him. He also tells Captain Marvel and Human Torch that they did try to split. That right off the bat, they did try to split up Wiccan and Hulkling. So yeah, he's focused. Back on the shore of Lake Victoria, Thing is taking on the Kotati infected She-Hulk, and Invisible One's trying to do anything to stop her. Force fields, putting a force field inside She-Hulk. None of it's working. When She-Hulk tells the Thing to give up and let the pain end and embrace his final destiny. Being asked to give up, though, that's what gets the Thing going. Explaining that he can't, giving up's the one thing he can't do. And he explains that, basically bringing up the two kids, Jovan and Nakala, never knew anything but war. And he can't even get their faces out of his head. And so he decides that all he's got to do to give them a chance at home and a better life is not give up on them, not die. And so he declares himself the immortal Thing and tells Shield to put up her dukes. In Wakanda, the battle is not going well. Though armed with the space sword, the Black Panther is armed with the space sword, and making headway. For every one soldier he brings down, 10 more take the place. Air support then comes in, but yeah, it just can't. However, a seed pod is planted, making a gateway in the soil of the Great Mound, a hole to anywhere. Then, Swordsman runs Black Panther through as Koi comes through with the seed for their Death Blossom. The flagship of the Kree Skrull Alliance, Wiccan, as well as, of course, Human Torch and Captain Marvel appear, along with Hulkling. We're stuck in a Skrull inhibitor mask. Super Skrull is actually kind of shaken, really. He's failed, feeling like he's maybe failed Hulkling again. They get the mask. Hulkling begins to explain that before he was ambushed and the inhibitor mask stuck on him, the person who attacked him looked a lot like Tenelf. And so, Carol, as Supreme Accuser, declares Tenelf accused. Authority suspended, no longer ruler of the Alliance, and they attempt to trigger the sun detonating weapon of theirs. Though we get it. Tenelf, the disguise as Hulkling, has her Ozymandias moment, basically, trigger the pyre. With the point in doing that twice. Invokes trial by combat. The battle does seem to be going in the favor. The various battles definitely seem to be going in the favor of the Kotati. Reed Richards tells Tony Stark that he's using some interesting satellite data from Earth and from the surface of the sun. Interesting as in interesting times. Bad news is the Kotati Death Blossom is definitely flowering in Wakanda. 10 minutes to full activation. Worst news is that if the solar reads are correct, the sun will explode sometime in the next 9. Also, the armor that Tony Stark was working on in Avengers Mountain, it wasn't for Tony. It was for Reed, which is why there's a 4 on it. And so Tony kind of looks and says, 9 minutes to save the world twice over. Let's get it done. And that's where the issue ends. Which brings us to the Batman's Grave, number 9. Where we left off, the Warden of Arkham Asylum had been killed by a member of the Scorn Army. And Batman basically took over as interim warden. And also let loose his Bat Hound drones in the city. So, in Arkham, Batman is putting his notes on the wall, and Gordon asks him what he's doing. He explains he's connecting up everything he knows. And Gordon goes, "Does this mean you can see your base, make a serial killer wall?" Like, no. I don't have access to my equipment. And sometimes it's a good way to arrange your thinking and work things out for oneself. And while Batman is sure that Robert Anthony is behind the Scorn Army and is therefore Scorn, Gordon says, why not, if Batman's sure, why not go after him? But Batman explains that they have the advantage in him not knowing that they know. Also, Gordon explains that does note that Batman's got a bit of a hitch in his step, and it's been a rough few days, and it does kind of seem like Batman's carrying more injuries than usual. And it's also noted that Arkham's quiet, especially with Batman as Warden, which immediately causes Gordon to ask if Batman killed all of them. But Batman explains that no, he just put him to sleep. Which Gordon rightly points out is a serial killer's euphemism if you ever heard one. And Batman explains that all of the inmates are having what Huxley would call a soma holiday, meaning he drugged them for 24 hours. Batman explains he does because it seems efficient. But he does at least make a point of noting that this is a temporary, him being acting warden is temporary. So, asked as a replacement. Apparently it's Arkham's brother Ephraim, who's flying from Salem to stand in until the board nominates a new warden. Being picked up at the airport by a motorcade, which, well, is a staffing drain that Gordon could definitely do without at the moment. However, Gordon then uses that as an opportunity to explain that that's why everything in him is shouting that they should use the people, the justice system, and Batman's creepy drones to go out and capture Scorn now. Gordon saying, put the photograph of the guy out there. And Batman says, can we prove he actually killed anybody? Though, Gordon makes an excellent point. People versus Manson. He directed it. He caused it. Batman explaining that, you need to trust me. If they uncover him, they lose him. Though Gordon does rightly point out they don't have him now. But Batman counters saying that they will have him, because he's going to keep making moves, not dive into a bolt hole and vanish forever. However, outside of Arkham, a member of the Scorn Army has a rocket launcher and targets one of the bat drones, causing it to blow up and fall on top of a bunch of the GCPD vehicles and the bat cycle, and doing enough damage that would knock out the window in the warden's office. So Batman pushes Gordon out of the way. Calls the remaining drone, gets picked up by it, and then goes tells it to find the aggressor. Goes after the guy. Turns out the guy's got a suicide vest, so while Batman does knock him down, the guy explodes and also damages the other drone, causing Batman drops onto a police car as the drone crashes into Arkham. And apparently the fall hit Bat pretty hard as he can't feel his legs. But yeah, he managed to. He can move them again. And Gordon comes out, explaining that he thought Batman looked bad a few minutes ago. Now he's kind of thinking maybe he should call in an air ambulance. But Batman explains that he's it's okay, and the Batmobile is coming around shortly. Gordon does note that Batman looks unusually pleased, seeing as how Batman is now a prime target of scorn. Though Batman explains that the whole operation has been disciplined, controlled. Now he's resorted to a rocket launcher. Basic, sloppy, panicky. This is good. Though Batman says, Gordon tells Batman to tell that to Arkham and his bike. Batmobile then shows up. Batman jumps in and tells him to drive him home. Alfred asks that he connect the suit to the health monitoring system. Batman reluctantly does so, and basically says that if Alfred wouldn't mind, he'd like to pass out for a while. Alfred responds, saying, noted. Now, having your employer fall into a coma miles from home while dressed as a giant gothic flying mouse is so much more comfortable for one when you announce it in advance. So the Batmobile goes through the chaos of Gotham, the Sworn Army doing its thing. And then while Alfred tends to Batman's injuries, they discuss, how he's going to go about going after him. Also, I'm going to once again say I absolutely love snarky Warren Ellis written Alfred. And so, but Batman does say that he now knows how to hurt Scorn. However, out in the city, the Sworn Army is going after the Bat drones, crashing them into vehicles on the street, civilian vehicles. This is where the issue ends. Which brings us to our final book of the week. Dark Knight's Death Metal, number 3. Where we left off, Batman, Wonder Woman, Harley Quinn, Swamp Thing, and zombified Jonah Hex were going to break out all the heroes and save the multiverse. And so, in a giant Trinity robot. On Apocalypse, the Trinity robot has crashed, and 3 of the Dark Knights come upon it. Collector, Batrocidus, and Nightglider. Now, I get Collector and Batrocidus. Nightglider honestly looks like a combination of the Silver Surfer and Batman. But apparently there's still someone inside the robot. Jonah Hex. Who activates the robot's self-destruct mechanism, taking out the 3 Dark Knights. In Apocalypse, Harley, Batman, and Wonder Woman make their way through while the Parademon Robins come after him. Also, it should be noted that Swamp Thing is currently Wonder Woman's shield. In the middle of as they make their way to the prison, Swamp Thing mentions that he sensed a great disturbance in the life force back on Earth. Something terrible just woke. Batman explains that it's the Batman who laughs. Whatever form he's taken, it's just been born. The darkest night has risen. Inside the prison, a Dark Knight who's a combination of Batman and Darkseid has imprisoned scot-free Mr. Miracle and is torturing Superman, working to kill off the Kryptonian cells and then shatter the kryptonite laced glass ceiling. And, well, then Superman will give in to anti-life. Until Batman, Wonder Woman, Harley, and Swamp Thing show up. Swamp Thing now, instead of being Wonder Woman's shield, is Harley's mallet. And so the Robin demons attack, as do the heroes. Batman has explained what has to happen with the to free Superman. Batman has an idea. Then Darkseid pulls the it's a new, better version of the weapon that Darkseid used at the end of Final Crisis. Fires it at Batman, hits him dead on, seemingly, killing him. Well, not just yet, as Bruce Weekly says, Clark. Superman frees himself, though Batside is curious, as to why anti-life didn't affect him. Superman explains that it affected him. It tickled. Explained it was through Batman's Black Lantern ring. It controls dead matter. So he stopped the dead cells from changing. And so Superman punches Batside out of the building, and it's explained that the prison is right below them, after Mr. Miracle's free, of course. However, Superman asks Batman, if Wonder Woman knows the truth about him. Though Batman explains that she knows no more of it than the truth about him than she does the truth about Superman. In the fifth dimension, Lobo is making his way through a realm of imagination. The fifth dimension soldiers explain there's no place for killing in the realm of imagination. Though, Lobo disagrees, explaining that in his experience, coming up with ways of killing is where folks do their best imaginative work. If it comes upon a tree and reaches into its mouth, it's a kind of living tree. Meanwhile, at the Crypt of Heroes, the Robin King arrives. Explains that the pouches on his belt each have ways of killing various heroes. Explaining how he did in Barry Allen on his Earth. What Robin King did was he dug up Barry's dead mom, covered her remains in the great Speed Force canceling toxin, liquefies Barry's muscles. Super painful, such cool stuff. And he stuffed the corpse of Barry's mom into a flash ring. When it was opened, her arms sort of flung out like she was trying to hug him, and yeah. But he explains he's not here to kill these humble heroes. He's here to watch the Darkest Night do it. And so, Jay Garrick, Barry Allen, and Wally West all decided there's only one course of action they can make. Run. And so, Dr. Fate opens a portal. The three speedsters run through it, with the Darkest Night giving chase. Barry suggesting that they combine their powers, though the Darkest Knight explains they can't run forever. And when they slow down even a fraction, he'll be right behind them. Back on Apocalypse, the other heroes are freed. And, yes, Diana did kill Batman last, but he's become something else. We didn't get a full explanation that right now Perpetua is drawing energy from Crisis Worlds in the Dark Multiverse. The energy is transmitted up from the Dark and out to human antennas around the multiverse, where it's amplified and sent to Perpetua herself. What they need to do is redirect that energy to one of their own. Someone with the power to kill Perpetua and then help them recreate the multiverse as it should be. Wally West being that person. So, everyone's given jobs. John Stewart will lead the Lanterns, been taking down the antennas on the remaining Earths. Martian Manhunter and his team will go after Perpetua's throne. The Flashes will keep Wally safe. Meanwhile, Diana and her team will go into the Dark Multiverse through a portal beneath Castle Bat and redirect the Crisis energy to Wally. They explained that it wasn't Superman they were there to rescue. It was Jarro. Who's slowly digging a tunnel. But it's explained that Jarro is the most powerful psychic being in the universe, and will be able to psychically block the Dark Knights and the Batman Who Laughs himself from detecting what Wonder Woman and her team are doing. And so, with Jarro's help, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman will re-enter the Dark, get the energy needed to restart the multiverse. Diana explains that she knows all of this is the result of their choices and the choices of those they failed. And regardless of blame or cause, what the universe has become, no one wants it. And she will not let it stand. Today they're going to reject their fate and reject death itself and give the universe a second chance, but only if they work together. So, everyone's in. Meanwhile, Lobo has got his package from what he was supposed to get from Fifth Dimension, the final box, and his employer's contacting him. There were 5. And so, Lobo asks, what's in the boxes? And his employer tells him not to, to open it too soon, and Lobo will regret it. And we discover that Lobo's employer is none other than Lex Luthor. And in the boxes are the death metal, and with them he will change the story of the universe once and for all. That is where the issue ends. And that is it for this week's roundup. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying live long and rock hard.